It's not HDI. It's Hedy Lamar. The hell are you worried about? This is 1874. You'll be able to sue her. Laughter. Remember when Mel Brooks looked at Hollywood rules and basic survival instincts and ignored both? In 1974, Brooks unleashed Blazing Saddles, a Warner Brothers Western parody that ran head first into racism, hypocrisy, and genre cliches without blinking. It starred Cleon Little as Sheriff Bart, Gene Wilder as the Waco Kid, Harvey Korman as the gloriously petty villain Hedy Lamar, Marlene Kahn as the seductive Lily Von Stoop, and Mel Brooks himself as the clueless Governor LePaine. Somehow the entire cast survived what the script asked them to say out loud. It looked like a goofy Western spoof. It was not. Today, we're counting down 15 weird facts about Blazing Saddles. And stick around for number 1 because the filthiest joke in the whole film slipped right past the censors and most audiences still don't know it's there. Now, before we start, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the glorious chaos of 70s cinema. Now, let S15, a scene that changed the rules. Mel Brooks saddle up with number 15, the campfire scene that broke a 70-year taboo. For decades, Hollywood loved showing cowboys eating beans by the campfire. What Hollywood never showed was what happened next. Mel Brooks thought that was ridiculous and decided to fix it in the most juvenile way possible. The infamous campfire scene shattered an unspoken studio rule that had held since the silent era. You do not let characters fart on screen, ever. Snorts, at least not in a mainstream American movie. Not audibly and definitely not on purpose. Brooks' logic was simple. Westerns had been lying to audiences for years. Cowboys ate beans. Beans have consequences. And pretending otherwise wasn't classy. It was just dishonest. So, he made the most realistic Western moment in cinema history and made it aggressively, unapologetically, crude. Not only did he keep the scene, he made sure it landed. He knew audiences would laughing so hard they might miss part of the gag. So he boosted the sound effects to cut straight through the chaos, and it worked. The moment told audiences exactly what kind of movie they were in for. If this was allowed, nothing was sacred. The fallout lasted for years. Television broadcasts tried desperately to undo the damage by muting the farts, replacing them with hoarse whinnies, pretending grown men were just shifting uncomfortably in their saddles. But it was too late. The taboo was broken. Point 14. The joke hidden in another language. Number 14. The Indians were speaking Yiddish. Blazing Saddles had one of its smartest jokes in a language most of the audience didn't speak, and it took decades for people to fully catch on. There's a flashback scene where a Native American tribe encounters a young Sheriff Bart and his family. The warriors move in. Tension builds. The chief opens his mouth, but he doesn't speak a made-up tribal language. He speaks Yiddish. It's all right. The chief, played by Mel Brooks himself, calmly tells his warriors to stand down. No subtitles and nobody noticed. Just rapid-fire Yiddish. Delivered like it's the most natural thing in the world. Most viewers had no idea what was being said. It just sounded vaguely foreign, which was exactly the point. If Hollywood was already doing this, why not make it literal? There's another layer hiding underneath, though. The chef spays Bart's family because they're darker than us. They darker than us. It's a quick moment, but it carries real weight. Brooks wasn't just mocking casting traditions. He was quietly signaling solidarity between groups who had been marginalized and turned into characters on screen. And just to push the joke completely over the edge, Brooks added a visual gag most people still miss. The chief's headdress includes Hebrew text that reads kosher for Passover. That's peak music. Blazing Saddles. If you caught the joke, you laughed. If you didn't, the movie kept moving. Either way, Mel Brooks was already 10 steps ahead. Number 13. John 13. A Western icon walks away. John Wayne loved the script, but walked away. Mel Brooks didn't bother with agents or studio channels. He walked right up to John Wayne in the Warner Brothers commissary and handed him the Blazing Saddles script personally. No pitch deck, just pure audacity. Wayne agreed to read it. The next day, he tracked Brooks down and told him the truth. He'd laughed his ass off. The script was hilarious, sharp, fearless, and exactly what it was supposed to be. But then came the hard stop. Wayne told Brooks he couldn't do it, not because it wasn't funny, but because it was too funny, too dirty, and too much of a grenade for the carefully polished John Wayne brand. His reasoning was brutally honest. He said it would disappoint his fans. The people who saw him as the living embodiment of the American Western hero weren't ready to watch him torch the genre from the inside out. And then came the kicker. Wayne told Brooks he'd be first in line to see it when it hit theaters. The most famous cowboy in movie history knew exactly what Blazing Saddles was doing. He respected it. He just didn't think America was ready to hear it coming from him. That pass turned the Waco Kid into one of Hollywood's greatest what-ifs. Brooks initially cast Gig Young, but when that fell through, the role went to Gene Wilder and lightning struck in a completely different way. Wayne later admitted he should have taken a deeper look at the script. By then, the movie had already proven audiences were more than ready. They just needed someone else to light the fuse. Hey 12. The theme singer had no idea. Frankie Lane number 12. Frankie Lane thought he was singing a real Western. That thunderous opening theme in Blazing Saddles sounds like it belongs in a dead serious Western epic. And that's exactly what Mel Brooks wanted because the man was being diabolical. And then something unexpected happened. The actual Frankie Lane, the guy who sang the themes for Gunfight at the OK Corral and Rawhide, walked into his office ready to work. Brooks made a decision on the spot. Hedy didn't explain the joke. When Lane asked what the movie was about, Brooks kept it vague. A Western, serious themes, big emotions. Nothing that would tip him off that he was about to introduce one of the most outrageous comedies ever made. Lane bought it completely. He sang the theme with total conviction. No awareness that he was setting up a punchline. He wore a shining star. Only after the song was locked did Brooks add the whip cracks, which got laid in during post-production, long after Lane had left the building. When Lane finally saw the finished film, he realized he'd been played. He admitted later that he felt embarrassed at first, like he'd been tricked into scoring a punchline he never saw coming. But history took care of that pretty quickly. The song became legendary. It didn't undercut the movie. It actually elevated it. Blazing Saddles opened with a song that believed in itself, and that's exactly why the joke worked. Torchlight Point 11. The unlikely gentle giant, Alex Carey's number 11, was played by an actual NFL enforcer. Wasn't played by a stuntman or some padded-up character actor. He was played by Alex Carey's aerial live football wrecking bull who spent years flattening grown men for a living with the Detroit Lions. And that's exactly why Mel Brooks cast him. Brooks didn't want to be a typical brute. He wanted the biggest, toughest guy on set to play someone gentle that is a child in a giant's body, wandering through a Western like he accidentally stumbled onto the wrong set. The casting gets even funnier with hindsight. Yeah, that's a good mango. That's a good moment. Years later, Carey's completely reinvented himself as the warm, lovable TV dad on Webster. The same guy who leveled NF linemen and knocked out a horse for laughs became America's reassuring father figure. That's a career arc nobody saw coming. Brooks didn't just flip expectations for one scene. He flipped an entire public persona. Worked because the strength was real, the softness was real, and audiences could feel both at the same time. Number 10. A name that sparked a lawsuit. Hedy Lamar 10. Hedy Lamar was not amused. One of Blazing Saddles' smartest running gangsters, also the one that came with legal paperwork. The villain's name isn't Hedy Lamar, it's Hedy Lamar. And yes, that distinction mattered. The real Hedy Lamar did not appreciate her name being dragged through a Western satire, so she sued. Mel Brooks' reaction was pure Mel Brooks. He wasn't angry. He wasn't defensive. He said he was actually flattered. This was a golden age icon he genuinely admired. A woman who also happened to co-invent technology that would later help make Wi-Fi possible. If she noticed the joke, Brooks figured that meant he'd done something right. Thank you. HY. Thank you. It's not HY. It's Hedy. Hedy Lamar. Instead of backing off the joke, the movie leaned into it harder. There's a scene where Brooks's character snaps at Hedy Lamar with the line, "This is 1874. You'll be able to sue her." That line wasn't in the original script. It was added after the legal threat surfaced. Harvey Korman played Hedy with unhinged precision, turning him into one of the most gloriously petty villains in parody history. A man constantly correcting people, constantly offended, and constantly losing control of his own dignity, which somehow made the name Gagland even harder. Brooks later joked that Lamar never got the joke. But the truth is simpler. The joke was never really about her. It was about ego, power, and the absurd seriousness that villains wrap themselves in. Number 9. The movie's original explosive title 9. The original title was Tex-Ex. Mel Brooks doesn't do subtle. He never really has. And his original title for Blazing Saddles proved it. He wanted to call the thing XX, a satirical riff on Malcolm X dropped into a western like a Molotov cocktail at a barn dance. Warner Brothers executives saw the title and immediately started sweating through their suits. Not because they didn't get the joke, but because they got it too well. Half the audience would think it was a radical statement piece. The other half would assume it was an adult film showing at the wrong theater. Neither scenario ended with a good box office. The title came straight from Andrew Bergman's original story outline, and it told you exactly what Brooks was planning. He wasn't going to politely nudge racism with a feather. He was going to dropkick it through a saloon window and laugh while it burned. The studio killed Tex immediately. A few safer titles got tossed around like Black Bart, The Purple Sage, names that sounded like actual westerns instead of hand grenades with the fuse already lit. Then Brooks had a thought. In the shower, apparently, because that's where genius happens. Blazing Saddles. It sounded like a dead serious western epic, but meant absolutely nothing. Perfect camouflage for the chaos inside. The studio thought changing the title would tame the movie, which is adorable. They clearly didn't read page 2.8, the rating that nearly killed it. Number 8. The film was nearly rated X before anyone saw it. In 1974, one letter could erase a movie from existence. X theaters wouldn't book it, newspapers wouldn't advertise it. A studio comedy slapped with an X might as well have been sealed in a vault and dropped